welcome back. I'm going to have a little bit of a name change around here, so instead of Savvy Steph couponing, I'm going to bring the channel back as just Savvy Steph, and that's because I feel like I've got a little bit more to give as far as just couponing videos, and I think it'll make it a little bit more interesting in terms of content that I can actually bring to you. I feel like I personally did couponing to death for like a couple of months, and I think that's where I lost a little bit of interest. And I'll still be bringing you couponing videos, but they won't be the main focus necessarily. They'll just be mixed in with other content. I feel like I've got so much more, you know, different ideas, tips, tricks, that sort of thing that I can offer you as far as money saving tips across the board, and I don't just want to kind of limit it to couponing. So I've got a few video ideas that I want to bring you over the next month, and I've decided to bring the channel back under Freebie February. Now, Freebie February doesn't mean that everything that I'll be bringing you will be free per se, but there will be ideas and, like I said, tips and tricks that you may want to follow or just take a few ideas from that may save you some money during the month of February and beyond. Some of those videos will, of course, be bringing you freebies, but it won't be kind of all of them. But I think they'll all have a little bit, I think they will all interest you in terms of kind of the content and, you know, things that you can take away from those videos. So I'll be doing a different video every single day in February to kind of bring the channel back under Freebie February. So I have a bunch of different video ideas. They're all varied, so I think, you know, depending on who you are, I think you'll like certain videos more than others, but I think, like I said, it'll make the content that I can give you, you know, weekly or monthly or whatever, a little bit more varied and a little bit more interesting. So for those of you that were originally watching me just for the couponing videos, they will of course still be there. I haven't lost total interest in that. That is definitely something that I am getting back into, but I feel like for most of us, we don't just shop and coupon at, say, you know, CVS and Walgreens. Yes, it's great to get deals at those stores because we can get some really big savings, but as far as, you know, our everyday lives, I think most of us shop in a variety of different stores, and I think it's also helpful to get, you know, tips as far as how to save money across the board rather than just in certain areas, and I think that will make it a little bit more interesting for me, and I think it will make it a little bit more interesting for you as well, and I feel like you'll be able to take more from it. So I'm going to be starting to film today my video, and I think today I'm going to be focusing on eBay specifically. I'm getting into eBay at the moment. I have had a lot of experience buying and selling on eBay in the past, and now I'm kind of in the process of selling a bunch of things of my own after having a big tidy up on eBay. And so I wanted to bring you, just to start the month off, 10 things both from the buyer and the seller's perspective to save you or earn you money on eBay. So today we will be doing it from the buyer's perspective because I think that's, you know, kind of what most of us will gain something from, because most of us buy on eBay but don't necessarily sell on eBay. So I've got 10 different things, as I said, both from the buyer's and the seller's perspective, but today it's going to focus on the buyer's perspective, and then I'll have a video in February that will focus from the seller's perspective as well. Personally, because I am selling some things at the moment, I am going to be showing you kind of from a practical point of view how I go about selling certain things on eBay and how I list them and that sort of thing, but you'll find that video later on in the month. So today I'm just going to be going through 10 different things that I think is really valuable for most people that are buying things on eBay, and don't just, you know, fall into the trap of just buying things on eBay because we assume that they are going to be the cheapest place that we can find those things. So I'm just going to be going through the list of things. I've just got them wrote down to the side of me, so if I'm looking away, that's what I'm looking at, just to kind of jog my memory. But yeah, let's get started. So my first pointer for people that are buying things on eBay, and something that I actually took advantage of myself a little while ago now, is actually purposefully using spelling mistakes to search on eBay. Now this might sound kind of counterproductive because you'll think, well, why would you be using the wrong spelling to search for something that you want? And this won't necessarily bring up all the best deals at all, I mean, don't get me wrong, but this is something that you can try, and it has worked for me in the past depending on what I'm actually buying. You will be amazed to find the amount of people that don't double check their listing before they post it, or don't realise that they've spelt something incorrectly, and you know, it might be as simple as just kind of the colour, it might be as simple as the material that the product is made of, or the style of the product, but you will be amazed to find how many people actually spell the brand name incorrectly, spell kind of the main part of the listing incorrectly, and it might just be a simple spelling mistake that a lot of people fall into the trap of, but it also might be kind of like a pretty big spelling mistake. So I'll give you an example of what I used to do. So a while ago, I mean, I like shopping at Topshop. That's a big store in England, but they're quite expensive. So I used to love their shoes, and obviously their shoes in England, you know, depending on the type of shoes, most of them can be upwards of about 50, 60, 70 pounds, which, you know, if I change that into USD, that would be about, you know, $100 plus. So, you know, quite pricey shoes for kind of a high street store. So I would find them on eBay, and at first I was just typing in, you know, the regular spelling and Topshop, how it would be, you know, spelled, and I was finding some great deals. And then I think one day I accidentally typed in Topshop, but I must have spelt it like TOPSOHP or something like that. Anyway, whatever I did, it was back to front, and I was shocked because even though I knew straight away I'd made a spelling mistake, there was still a bunch of different listings. And they popped up, and they wouldn't have otherwise necessarily popped up if I had have put in the spelling, you know, the correct spelling. And especially if these are items that people are bid on, so they're auction items rather than kind of buy it now items, those particular items are not necessarily going to come up in most people's searches when the majority of people search for an item or a shoe from Topshop, for example, because most people are going to be typing in the correct spelling. And those particular listings may fall to the bottom of the search because they don't quite match what the person has searched, or they might not come up at all. And so I was amazed to find these listings that not many people were watching, not many people were bidding on, but they were great shoes, and, you know, shoes that were actually really good quality, quite new in terms of, you know, when they had come out originally from Topshop. And so I was just really surprised to find these listings, and I got myself, you know, a few good deals, and I purchased them for myself, you know, to start with. And then I realised as I did more and more searching that I found more and more, you know, I specifically focused on shoes, just because the shoes are obviously more expensive than, say, the clothing items, and there's a little bit more popularity for them, I guess, on eBay in terms of, you know, shoes being having a little bit more longevity than, say, like a clothing item, for example. And so I was, you know, buying these shoes, you know, really, really cheap prices. So I think some of them, you know, I would win the bid basically like £3 or £4, and shipping might have been £5 to £6 pretty much. But, you know, if those particular listings were listed under the proper, you know, correct spelling, those particular shoes were going for upwards of £20, £30, £40 on eBay, because their actual, you know, retail price was upwards of $70, $80, $90. I'm mixing my pounds and my dollars up, but essentially you get the idea. And so, yeah, you will be amazed to find the deals that you can find where you know, purposefully spell things incorrectly. And, you know, this might work for you as far as buying things for yourself, but it also might, you know, make you be aware of products that you could easily resell as well. So you could buy those products, and you're buying them at a significantly cheaper price than what you would be buying them outright if, you know, you were getting them under a listing that was viewed by more people. And then you might be able to sell them, you know, maybe use them for yourself and maybe sell them at a later date and actually make a profit from them, or purchase them to resell. So, you know, that is my first kind of pointer, is to purposefully, as I said, it might sound counterproductive or counterintuitive, but yeah, to buy things or search things initially under an incorrect spelling mistake. I think that's my first pointer. So my second piece of advice is to really be careful of the selling price of the item, including the shipping. So that's not just looking at the potential selling price, so the auction price or the buy it now price. It's looking at that collective potential selling price alongside the mailing fee or the shipping fee, you know, the postage and packaging. Because those two together might actually make the item less of a bargain than you originally think. So buyers will fall into the trap usually of, you know, searching for what they want, and the listings that come up and look, you know, significantly cheaper, because obviously the, you know, the auction price or the buy it now price is obviously the bolded price, right? It's the one that catches your eye because it's the big price that's listed when you do a search. And so the little postage and packaging or handling fee at the bottom will be much smaller, and it may not catch your attention straight away. So you might think you're getting a great bargain when actually, you know, you would never have bid that much on the item, including the postage and packaging. So the postage and packaging fee might actually hike the price up more than you would have originally been willing to buy the item for in the first place. So it's a really good idea to not just look at the original or the auction price, because eBay, when you are a seller, will actually you know, give you the tip of reducing the selling price of the item to make it more you know, more, what's the word? I'm trying to think of the word. More appealing. Appealing is the word. To make it more appealing to the buyer. And so they will even mention it when you're, you know, when you go to list an item, they'll be like, you know, we recommend that you sell it, or you start the auction price below this, you know, below this price point, because sometimes it might not seem like this would be the case, but most of the time, or some of the time, even when I've been selling things, if I put a buy it now price on the item of what I actually want to get for the item, or maybe just slightly below what I want to get for the item, I won't make as much from it than if I was to put a low starting auction price and make people bid up. Because people, you know, you'll grab more buyers' attention from doing a lower auction price to start with, because then you'll have a bigger audience on your listing because, oh my gosh, this is so cheap, and they'll all bid the price up, and you might end up actually getting a better price for your item if you start off lower than if you were to set the selling price higher. So it works the same way for the buyer. The buyer is obviously going to find something that is cheaper, more appealing, but then you do obviously need to be aware that because of that, the seller might have actually increased, you know, what they would have otherwise charged for shipping and handling. And even though it's something that is not necessarily, or something that might be frowned upon, you know, you do need to be aware that it does happen. I think that's the thing, you know. I think it's something that, oh, well, there's no way it costs this much to ship, but it happens, so you do need to be aware of that. So that's definitely my second piece of advice. So my third piece of advice works great for me, maybe not so much for others, but I think you can work it around your schedule, is that the best time to bid on an item is in unsociable hours, right? So the best thing to do when you're looking for a listing, or there's multiple listings of the same item, is possibly find one that ends in your time zone at an unsociable hour. So what I mean is, maybe it ends super early in the morning, or it ends super late at night, or it ends in the middle of the night, when you're going to have less of a target audience looking at that. So even though a lot of people might be watching this item and might be, you know, looking to bid on that item, very few of those people are going to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and actually place their final bid. Yes, they might have left a bid prior to, you know, the prior to the bid ending, or sorry, prior to the listing ending, and therefore their bid is still going to, you know, to count. But if you get in there and you are the last person there, you know, and you're bidding up, and there's only 2 people bidding at that particular time, and you've already kind of gone over what people have been bidding, you know, when they put their bids in earlier on in the day to see if they might win the item during the night when nobody's around, you might just be lucky enough to kind of be there when you can see the price going up and up and up and up, and you can get your final bid in, you know, at that hour when the actual listing is ending, because you'll be more aware of what the final ending sale price of the item will be, than if you were kind of sleeping and you've just left a, you know, an arbitrary bid on the item. So definitely, you know, if you can, I think, you know, try and stay up, or try and wake up, or whatever, at a time when the listing is ending, especially if it's something that you really want to get, you know, really want to win, because in general, listings that are ending, you know, at hours where less people are going to be online and seeing the listing ending, is going to be more beneficial for you. I hope that made sense. Okay, so my fourth piece of advice, I think it's the fourth piece of advice, would be to don't bid at a whole number or a number that most people would bid at. So I mean, don't bid on the dollar. So if you are going to place a bid that's $1 higher, don't just place it $1 higher. Place it $1.02 higher or $1.07 higher, like a random number. Or even if it's 98 cents higher, you know, but over the dollar is better because obviously most people do bid, you know, $1 or more, depending on the item anyway, you know, the potential selling price. And that just works in general because most people are going to be tempted to just, you know, put in a $1 bid or a $2 bid or a $5 bid or a $20 bid. They're going to be very precise in their number, just as, you know, we count time by 5 minutes, 10 minutes, not like 2 minutes and 7 minutes. No, you know, usually we say, oh, that took 5 minutes to do what, you know, that sort of thing. I think, if you get what I mean. I hope that's a good, I hope that's a good example of it happening in kind of, you know, in life. Yeah, so bid a little bit higher than a whole number. And the reason I say that is because if you are putting a bid, you know, if one person puts a $20 bid and one person puts an $18 bid and one person puts a $20.01 bid, you are going to win if you put the $20.01 bid, because even though it's 1 cent higher, the bid is still higher than the person that put $20 down. Okay, so obviously eBay works by people bidding each other up. Okay, so if one person puts the $7 bid down and then another person put, you know, eBay is going to automatically put those bids in until it reaches, you know, the highest person's bid. If you're the highest person, you know, the highest person that's bid on the item and you've only bid 1 cent higher, you're still going to be the person that wins that item. And so obviously that just works by most people bidding at a whole number or a, you know, a round number. And so if you are the person that bids, you know, even if it's a couple of cents higher, but it's like 7 cents higher, you know, most people aren't going to bid a random number like that. And, you know, it works really effectively as far as you being able to win bids because it plays on the majority, you know, or what you would expect most people to bid, you know, their bidding habits, but, you know. And so, yeah, so try and bid if you are going to bid, you know, if it's $1 higher, if it's $2 higher, regardless, just try and bid at a random number. Don't just bid, you know, at a precise, even number. So, I hope that made sense. I don't know whether that did, but I think you can get the idea. So my fifth piece of advice is to not always assume that eBay has the cheapest prices. Yes, it is known to have cheap prices. And 8 times out of 10 it might have the cheapest price for a certain item because you are buying it from an individual seller rather than somebody that owns a business and has overheads and everything like that. So yes, in the majority of cases you will find bargains on eBay, but don't always fall into, you know, into that idea that you are going to find the best deal on eBay. There's a lot of sites here at the moment, online at the moment, that are kind of, you know, really bringing people amazing deals. Amazon is one of them, and obviously you can buy and sell on Amazon as an individual trader as well. So, you know, a little bit like eBay, it's an individual person, might be buying and selling certain things, might be selling things that are brand new, might be selling things that are used like eBay. And so it's always good to do your research as far as looking around different sites and seeing what deals you can get. There's also occasions where people might be selling a product that might be difficult to get on the online market in general, and so they might hike the price up on eBay. So people will think, oh my gosh, I've got to get this item because here it is on eBay, it's difficult to get at the moment, and the price might be absolutely ridiculous. And of course you've got to take that and decide for yourself whether that is particularly worth it for what you're buying. But in general, it's good to do your research, and even just to find out what the going price is for a certain item. You might think, oh yes, this looks like a great deal, but you might do a bit of searching around and you might find that, you know, that's on clearance on certain sites, or it's, you know, it's on sale on certain sites, or there's a coupon on a particular website that you can use to reduce the price, and it actually ends up cheaper than you bidding or buying it straight off on eBay. So I would just say do your research as far as the selling price of particular items, because you might find that you might get a better deal in some cases elsewhere. So the sixth thing that I would recommend, and this probably goes a little bit actually hand in hand with the unsociable hours thing, is I would personally download the eBay app. I know some people just you know, use the computer and bid on eBay, but I think it's such a valuable resource to have the app for eBay on your phone, because it means that you don't have to be attached to your computer when things are actually getting bid on, or, you know, it comes to the end of a listing, for you to actually be within a chance of actually, you know, grabbing that particular deal. Because if it's always best if you can see the action that is happening at the end of the bid, because you might think at the time, oh yeah, I'll put this particular bid in, you know, 5 hours before the bidding ends, and you might think, oh gosh, if I'd have just bid you know, 20 cents more at the end of the bid, or however much more, you would have won that particular bid. And if you'd have seen the price that it was going for, you might have just put in a last minute bid when, you know, you saw the auction ending, that might have made you you know, the winner of the bid. And so I think it's always valuable to have that app on hand, because you'll be getting kind of live updates of everything that you've watched as well, so it's a good way to remind you. I know I've watched a lot of things in the past and totally forgotten that I was even watching them, and then my phone's reminded me, oh gosh, yes, this item is ending, and, you know, I want to kind of be within a chance of winning it. And so that will remind me, you know, and I would be more likely to kind of, if I'm on the go, oh great, I just open the app, I can bid on the item, I can look what the price is going for, I don't have to be at home, I don't have to be at a computer, that sort of thing. I can be at a friend's house, I can be shopping, you know, whatever. And also it's a good idea, because if you are waiting on something to end and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, or it's, you know, at an unsociable hour, and you can't be bothered to get up and go on your computer, at least you can just grab the phone from the side of your bed and bid on the item. So I think it's a really good resource to have the app, because you can do a lot of things, and especially, and I'll bring this up kind of in the selling video as well, is that it's much easier to do the photos, to do the listing, to upload everything on the go on your phone. It means you don't have to take the pictures and then upload them onto your computer and that sort of thing. So I think the app in general for buyers and sellers is definitely a benefit to have. So yeah, that's another thing that I would recommend. So my 7th piece of advice, and probably 8th piece of advice actually roll into the same thing here, but that would be go for items with proven resale value. So certain brands you might find might have or might be a little bit more popular on eBay, and therefore have a greater following or a greater target audience of people that are actually going to watch and buy those particular items. Ones that I've noticed that have proven, you know, a good proven resale value would be things that are possibly getting discontinued in retail, and therefore, you know, but people love the product, and therefore, you know, they're still selling for a great price on eBay. Other things would be brands specifically that have one-of-a-kind items, or only a limited amount of those items, and therefore once they sell out in retail, you know, they're still going for a great price online on eBay, and people still want those items because they're rare, you know, they're kind of like one-of-a-kind, like I said before. And other things that you're going to get a greater deal on are things maybe that are a little bit more expensive from retail, so that might be designer brands and things like that. And obviously you do have to watch out when you're buying designer items on eBay, because you do want to make sure that you're getting a legitimate piece. That's, you know, definitely something for another video, and I'm sure there's a lot of people on here that have, on YouTube, that have made videos on how to make sure that you are getting an authentic piece when it comes to designer items. It doesn't necessarily have to be designer, just maybe, you know, brands that are a little bit more expensive in retail, and you might be buying them maybe used, if it's a clothing item, if it's a shoe, or, you know, footwear, that sort of thing, and you might be getting a significantly better deal from it when you're buying the item online, because, you know, yes, it still looks in great condition, but it has been used, and therefore, when, you know, in comparison to you buying, say, a designer item, you know, straight from the rack in the retail store, obviously it's going to be a lot more expensive. So you might find the price discrepancy between the two, you know, buying in retail when it first comes out, and then buying on eBay maybe after somebody has used it for a little while but it's still in great condition. There might be a greater gap, so you're getting a little bit of a better deal. So that's definitely something to bear in mind. And I think, what was my other one? Let me see. Yes, that was it. So I guess my 8th piece of advice, and this works for buyers and sellers, but from a buyer's point of view, if you buy things, you know, what's going to work for a buyer is going to be different from a seller. So for a buyer, if you buy things that are seasonal, or, you know, like rain boots, or if you buy a winter coat or something like that, if you buy those in the summer, you're going to get a better deal for those online on eBay, because there's going to be a lot fewer people are a lot less people that are going to be wanting to buy a winter coat in the middle of July in the US, right? So you're probably going to get a better deal. Less people are going to be watching that item, and you know, less people are going to be bidding on that item. So in general, you might get a better, you know, a better price for that particular item when that item is not in great demand. So in the winter, yes, if you're buying a pair of winter boots, if you're buying a winter coat in winter, there's probably going to be a lot more people interested in buying that item, and the price may, you know, go up accordingly. But if you're buying a winter coat in July, there's not going to be as many people wanting to buy that winter coat or interested in that winter coat. They're going to be wanting to buy like sandals and bikinis and stuff like that. So you see my point, right? Obviously, if I was telling you this from a seller's perspective, you know, I would say to you, make sure that you sell the items that you're going to sell in the season that people are going to want to buy them, because that's when you're obviously going to have the greatest target audience for those items, and that's when you're going to make the most profit. So those kind of work, you know, hand in hand for those particular 2 points. So my 9th point, and this is not necessarily favourable when it comes to being a seller, because you're going to get less possibly for your item, maybe, but I would say bid in the last couple of seconds. Make sure you've got a good internet connection, because this can sometimes completely backfire on you. So I would say if you are going to do this, it's probably best if you're in a great place as far as, you know, data on your cell phone, if you do have the app, or if you're, you know, connected to a good Wi-Fi connection, because you're going to be able to at least get that bid in and it be processed in time through your connection to actually still count before the listing ends. And the reason why I say you know, bid in the last couple of seconds is because, you know, if there's a listing that lasts 7 days or 30 days or however long the bidding has lasted, and there's multiple people watching that item, and you've got, say, 10 people constantly bidding on the item, and they're constantly outbidding each other, you know, 5 days before the listing is going to end, that price is going to go up and up and up and up and up, and then obviously at the last minute, you know, the price is going to be quite high, right? So the price of the item will probably be quite high when it sells. But if you've got 7 people watching that item and they don't really bid on that item, and they wait until the last couple of seconds or the last minute, you're going to have less potential of people to bid that item up to a certain extent before the end of the listing. So in general, you will probably end up getting a better price, because people don't really know how many people are actually going to be bidding and to what extent on that item. Whereas if you have, you know, like I said, 10 people bidding on an item, and they're constantly bidding the item up, they're constantly bidding over each other for the you know, continuously for 5 days, the item is going to sell for more money than possibly somebody bidding in the last couple of seconds. And yeah, obviously for sellers, that's not necessarily a good thing, because your item might sell for less money. But if we're looking at it from a buyer's perspective, you can grab some really good deals if you get in there at the last minute. And so if that was the case, I would, you know, monitor the price, see how it's going. You know, if it's out of your price range by the time you get to the last few minutes, then that's something that you don't need to bid on. You know, you can work that out before you get to that stage. But if you kind of watch what's going on, but you don't add to the bid, because if you add to the bid, you're going to force somebody else possibly to then bid ahead of you. So if you do that, you're obviously, you know, getting a worse price, right? Because it's giving more time for that person that's seen your bid to be like, okay, I want to bid a little bit higher because I want to win this item. So it's kind of to prevent you personally from increasing the bid at an earlier point in time, when it's more likely for other people to bid on top of you and increase the price, right? Because if you still want to buy it, then you're going to have to bid higher than them. So, I mean, it can be favourable to a buyer, it can be unfavourable to a seller, but, you know, you can work that out and work that in your favour depending on which side of the, you know, which side of the coin you fall, if you wanna put it like that. And I would say my last piece of advice, which is really important and I think goes without saying in most cases, is if you are looking for an item specifically, make sure you buy it from a reputable source. And I think that goes for pretty much everything in life, as far as kind of buying and selling things. But, you know, you don't want to buy an item, even if it's at a cheap price, and get your hopes up and buy it from a seller that has no intention of posting it, no intention of selling something that actually was what you saw in the picture, you know, that sort of thing. And you can get a good idea from the people that have previously purchased from them, whether you are buying from somebody that is going to be, you know, a good, you know, somebody that's in good standing on eBay, for example, you know. I think it's important as far as you being able to have peace of mind that the item that you are going to receive is going to be of the quality that you expect it to be, and also that you are going to receive it in a timely manner as well. Because the worst thing to happen is for you to buy something and then, you know, for you to never receive it and have to go through all of the procedure of getting your money back and contacting eBay and all of that sort of thing. And I think it gives you the peace of mind, right, to make sure that what you're actually buying is something that you are actually going to be receiving. There's all sorts of things on eBay, all sorts of dodgy listings that you might see and think, oh yeah, that's a great deal, but then what are you actually going to get when it turns up? And I think, you know, especially on eBay at the moment, there's, not on eBay at the moment, sorry, on YouTube at the moment, there's been so much hype over the mystery boxes on eBay, and obviously you really don't know how, you know, what you are actually going to receive in those boxes. You know, as far as the listing goes, you could write anything in the description, and you know, you might think, oh yeah, that's probably going to be great, you know, it's this price and it looks like it's going to contain good stuff, even though it's very vague. And then what you actually get in real life is not, you know, what you expected at all. So I guess buying a mystery box is very similar to buying from somebody that isn't reputable. You don't really know what to expect, you don't really know what you're going to get from it. So that is definitely something that I would recommend on both sides. So those 10 tricks and tips kind of conclude my video as far as eBay from a buyer's perspective. And like I said, I will be coming to you from a seller's perspective as well, with 10 things to watch out for when you are a seller. I've just been doing a lot of tidying recently, and I've got so many things that I need to list on eBay, and at first that can be quite overwhelming, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be kind of taking some examples of products that I want to list on eBay, and kind of going through, you know, from an on-screen perspective, and also just from me kind of talking and giving you my tips and tricks, like in this video, you know, what I would write for the listing, what I would include in the description, what I would include with the title, how I would take the pictures, you know, that sort of thing, to give you a better idea of how to kind of get the best out of the items that you're going to sell on eBay, just like you want to get the best out of the items that you're going to buy on eBay as well. So I hope this has been informative. I really hope that you've at least taken something from this video, if not all 10 points. But, you know, things to bear in mind for the future, even if you're not on eBay, eBay? even if you don't do eBay at the moment. Maybe it's something that you're getting into, maybe it's something that you just wanted to learn a little bit more information about. So anyway, I hope this helps you. So I really appreciate you. I can't even speak tonight. I cannot even speak. I really appreciate you all watching. I hope you find this interesting, and I hope to see you in all of my other videos in the coming month. I hope there's at least something for everybody. So thank you for watching, everybody. Subscribe below, click the little alarm button. That means that you're going to get my videos notified to you when they come out, or you're going to get my video notifications when when they come out. So yeah, have a great night everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye!